Huntsman here. I'm out here in the barn, so bear with me. I'm hoping my lantern lasts long enough for the stream here. And I'm joined tonight by Missouri Survival, or your name is Chris, correct?
Yeah, my name's Chris.
Okay, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Chris. I run the Missouri Survival YouTube channel, which is a sort of a mix of prepping and bushcraft and Minuteman and political schizo rants on occasion.
Kind of some what Risky Krisky was kind of doing for a little bit too.
Yeah, but he's much better than me. So we're
Yeah.
the D tier schizo rants
He
over here.
he uh he got big quick. I remember when I first started following him, he had a channel smaller than mine. And then he within just like a year got up to like 50,000 subscribers or
Dude,
something.
somehow that guy hit the algorithm. But like I think he said a lot of things that resonated with people, which is one of the reasons he's not here now.
Yeah.
But like,
Well, you start questioning the synagogue of Satan, and they kind of send their regards pretty quick. So
yeah, like, and they're not that I know Krisky at all. I've never even had a conversation, but I'm associated with people who actually do know him, and they said that I mean there was even people from our end of the spectrum, like, but in the comms community that were really doing some bad, like, just some Benedict Arnold kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so it's interesting because I've kind of delved into. Obviously, I have a military background. I was a 0341 infantry mortarman, and and even afterwards, I've helped train some classes. I've taken some classes myself, and there's a lot of baby boomer gatekeeping with anything to do with comms, and they would gladly stick the feds on you and your family in a heartbeat if you push the wrong button on a bow thing, you know?
oh yeah, which makes me want to do it that much more.
Yeah, I
Not to the point of getting myself in trouble, but like when people, and maybe this is part of the fall of man, that when you make a rule, especially a stupid one, that it's just our nature to try to break that rule. But like,
well, I think some people likes to get off on power trips, especially
yeah,
especially guys that's way past their prime and they haven't really ever done anything in their
the,
life, but
the AARP crowd that has a homebrew repeater set up in their yard,
yeah.
and want to try to triangulate people and turn them into the FCC. Yeah,
Yeah, I was doing a little class, and the guy kind of brought up ham radio stuff, and he was went on about like a 30-minute rant of how proud he was for getting just average guys in trouble. And
yeah,
this is supposed to be like a patriot guy, but he's like, I'm so glad I got guy in prison, blah blah blah, because he made a radio
dude,
transmission or something, something like that along those lines.
dude.
Like,
I Yeah, I've encountered that. It's in the gun community too. Like, I, without saying too much, I know a guy that was bragging about getting another guy rolled up, and the other guy that was got rolled up, he was doing something illegal. He was selling some cheap 9 millimeters uh, on the without background check, stuff like that. I'm not going to advocate anything illegal. I'm just saying this guy was super proud of getting somebody rolled up.
yeah.
And to me, it was like, okay, I'm never ever gonna do business with this guy just on principle. But like, yeah, I don't know, man. I think that the government should be reduced by about 95%.
I don't think any three-letter agency should even exist. But me personally, and that's kind of an interesting conversation we could get into because with the election coming up and everything like that, people are all kind of like rah 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 Trump or rah 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 Kamala, and
Oh
we're going to
god.
save America one way or the other, and all this. And
Right.
I kind of have a different look on things. I personally don't think there is any saving America. And that's not me saying that from like some anti-American perspective. That's just me being realistic. I kind of look at it more like we're in the latter days of the Roman Empire type of thing, and people needs to start looking more into their local kingdoms and local communities more than they do trying to save the empire, because I don't think there is
Right.
any saving it.
Well, like I 1,000% agree with that. And there's a part of me that doesn't want the empire to be saved because the empire has done well, it's used the citizenry and even soldiers. I don't. This isn't to trash talk soldiers, but just they've used the blood of our farm boys to go do shit on behalf of bankers. Sorry for cussing on your show, by the way.
Oh no, I don't mind. I'm a Marine infantry vet. There's not much that people can say
Yeah, I,
that could offend me. So
it, I'm trying to at my own life though. Like I'm bad about it, and for me, I still feel wrong doing that. But if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, there's a good amount of f bombs on occasion. But either way, I guess what I'm saying is like I know that it's illogical in one sense to say, yeah, I wish that there was no government because, like it or not, we kind of all have a dependency to some degree on the system. But I still feel like the system is illegitimate. I feel like the system takes advantage of people. And just like BlackRock and Vanguard and all these things, those may be seen as corporate, but those are arms of the government at this point
well,
through missions.
I did a video not too long ago. It was kind of a rant, and I was kind of talking about what I think is the real World War III, because a lot of people are kind of caught up into this like Tabuki dance of, there's Russia and Ukraine, blah blah blah, and then Israel and Iran and blah 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 and all that nonsense. And yeah, can they hype some people up and get the ritualistic meat grinder going and send all the able-bodied, let's just be realistic and call it what it is, Midwestern white guys to go and die for, whatever foreign country
By
across.
by using the blood of American farm boys. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It's sending. Granted, there are people outside of that demographic, but they're heavily dependent upon country boys. You
yeah.
know, and
Well, and that's the overt World War III. But I actually think what that kind of video was getting at, though, is at the same time they want to play this, mass ritual in front of us, but yet Vladimir Putin, Trump, all of them goes to the same wall. They put on the same hat. They all bow to the same wall. They all are part of the same system, and they all have the same banks and the same corporations all interworking with their governments. And
yeah,
so, really, I think the underlying World War III is not so much of nations against nations, but it's all the governments, all the corporations, and all the banks allied against their own people.
and this is gonna. I'll just say it. I actually think Alex Jones is right. It is corporate and governmental satanic cult leaders out against humanity.
So I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you're willing to go,
I'll
but
go. I will go as far as you want to go. I just
okay.
didn't know
There's a
your
book,
thoughts.
and I highly advise this book. It's probably one of the most in-depth, detailed books I've ever read, and it's written by Gary Wayne. The book is called "The Genesis Six Conspiracy and How the Descendants of Giants Plan to Enslave Humanity."
Dude,
And
we're on the same wavelength then, bro. Because I actually pretty well convinced of that being a thing.
so, when you really look into a lot of these secret societies and this group and that group and blah blah blah, they all essentially trace their lineage back to ancient Nephilim, and they're
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reason. why everything they do, when you like step back and look at it, it's like it's almost like it's not even humans running this show.
Yeah,
Like it, and I heard somebody one time tell me because the banker boys are kind of on like a totally different wavelength than us, and I thought it
right,
was kind of interesting because he's like, well, the reason why they understand the banking system is because they created a banking system, and they created a banking system in a way that humans don't understand, because humans, we think of fives and tens, they think of sixes and 12s. And if you look at a lot of the banking system, it's all based around sixes and 12s and stuff. And so it just kind of like it doesn't naturally resonate with us.
right. Man, that I think that that stuff, it's on a different level, and it's like you said, it's one of those things that's supposed to be sort of outside of our vernacular and what we can understand. Like what do you think about the Nephilim bringing, like, I think that there was even more advanced technology in what we would call the ancient world. I don't know if
I
you go down that road.
100% agree with that. I think we are I think prior to the flood of Noah, there was what I like to call Atlantean technology that surpassed even what we have today. And I think their technology was different.
Yeah,
So, and this is just me deeply speculating. I don't have a lot of evidence on this and stuff. This is just kind of from research and things that I can speculate on. I
right.
think their technology was more earth energy, magnetic,
Gravity, magnetic stuff, dude.
and frequency
Yes,
based in technology. And so our technology today is based on fires and explosions. Essentially, like if you think about it,
right.
it's all like burning things and controlled explosions.
I mean, just the internal combustion engine. I mean,
Yeah,
that
or
for
even like a firearm, or
right,
almost every technology that we think of has something to do with fires and explosions. And I don't think that their technology was like that. And just the very fact that you could look at everything that once you start digging down the rabbit hole, you realize it's all pre-flood technology, like the pyramids and things all across the world. Then
right,
you realize that we can't even build that today with
right,
our own, like our sophisticated technology today. We cannot build that.
right. This just kind of popped in my mind, but like, have you ever listened to people talk about the technology that went into like the moon landing and how they say, "Oh, we went to the moon, but we can't get there again. We
Oh, we
lost the
lost that technology.
technology." Dude, yeah, they say we lost it. There's no way we lost that. That's been squelched. If we ever went there, it's been squelched. I don't think we ever went there,
I
but
don't think we.
if
Um,
we did, they hit it. You know what I'm saying?
I so I may kind of lose some people on this one, but I believe that the Earth is exactly what the Bible describes the Earth as, and so I don't think it's a floating ball in the middle of a deep space, if that makes any sense. And
Yeah,
I don't even think that the moon is so much a physical, tangible object that you can reach out and grab or something.
right. And I haven't gone that far, but at the same time, I've lost so much faith in so much of the things I've been told my whole life that that isn't, like, outside of the realm of me entertaining and coming to a decision to buy into that. You know what I mean?
Well, it took me a while to go down that, because I went down that road originally looking to debunk it. I was like, okay, this is kind of like ridiculous. I got to look into this. And I was
Right.
just going to like try to debunk it. And then I started kind of looking into it. And then a guy, you should look into, he's passed away. He was actually murdered during COVID. Uh, his name's Rob Skiba. He has several books. One of the best biblical scholars I've ever read into. But Rob Skiba kind of went down that road, and he was a helicopter pilot, and pretty renowned guy. And he actually wrote a book called "Testing the Globe," and he kind of uses just a lot of factual stuff, but also uses the Bible a lot to
Right.
because kind of something that I kind of think about when you kind of start going down that road a little bit is it's like, okay, well, the people that wrote the Bible back then, they didn't know what the earth was. So you're telling me that God or men that God had write the Bible didn't know what the earth was when God told them what to write it down as, but yet Neil deGrasse Tyson does?
Dude, that guy huffs his own farts, like, I
Oh, I
can't
know.
stand I
I
can't
know. Yeah. So just a little food for thought is all, I guess.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
But
Dude, I think that we're kindred spirits here about this, conspiracy stuff, though, because
I so I learned when I was in the military, either most guys will go completely there's either like one or two camps. Is some guys will like completely just head first dive into it, and then they're just like for the government, by the government, alongside the banks and the corporations or some shit, and they're just basically a mindless robot. And then
right.
the other group of guys will be like, "Whoa," like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's that not confirmation, normalcy bias.
Yeah.
It's that, "Oh, that's too far out there for me to entertain." But dude, what we're seeing just on the average level of American watching what's going on in America, we are so beyond the pale of what should be considered normal, and people can't accept that. And this has nothing to do with like scratch all the Nephilim and all this stuff in the conversation. Just what's happening with our congressmen and just a general thing that's going on in America. We have a coup going on with Democrats just switching out members of the of who's going to be running without actually having a vote on it. I mean,
And
all
still
this
call
stuff is
themselves Democrats, which
right.
this may sound even kind of weird, but I'm starting to even question whether or not I support a quote democracy in
I
general.
don't. I
Like,
reject democracy.
yeah,
Like, cause
because if you just look at the basic meaning of democracy, it basically just means mob rule. And when I go to Walmart and I see just mass hordes of stupid people wearing pajamas and shitting themselves, they're like, I don't think those people should have a say in what the hell's going on because they
right.
can't control themselves.
Yeah. I mean, well, we're so weak and decadent as a society that I think that we deserve what is coming. I think that there is a collapse coming.
Uh, oh,
And
I agree. Uh, and sadly, and like kind of like you said earlier, I don't want it to fall apart. I've served it. I'm loyal to it, but at the same time, I feel like the whole damn thing needs to burn to the freaking ground, and then we rebuild it because there's no way you could have something as big of and as authoritarian and as just ridiculous as our government has become and put it back in smaller shoes. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Right. I mean, even just monetarily, if we look at the monetary system, we have print and spent so much that it is unrecoverable. Whether the orange man gets in, and I know people want to like basically worship the guy, whether we get Kamala or the orange man or Bernie Sanders, I know he's not running, but my point is just all three levels of craziness. It's not going to stop us from going off the financial cliff. We have destroyed ourselves as a
well,
nation.
what we basically have become is Babylon the Great mixed with Weimar Republic,
Yeah.
essentially. And
With Nephilim running around in it.
with like, well, there's Nephilim behind the scenes and running things, but then they got their puppet characters. It's just like something I've kind of pointed out to people before is okay, and this kind of really stood out to me when I seen this. Is do you remember when Mark Zuckerberg was in Congress and Congress was questioning him and stuff, and the guy could not hardly even talk. He couldn't even hardly like make a coherent sentence, and that kind of showed me something. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't run anything. He's just an employee.
Right.
Like if you think about it, if you're a trillionaire class that prints money out of nothing. is it really a big deal for you to hire a billionaire?
Right. Well, and it's basically all of these people, probably even Klaus Schwab, are just puppets for the redacted that we don't know their names.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and honestly, I think there's a couple reasons. One, they just kind of hide themselves from, scrutiny of the masses. But two, I would almost think at a certain point, if they actually were to be seen, they would be too obvious for the average person to even,
Right.
it would be too obvious. It'd be like, okay, what is that? You
Right.
know?
What do you think about the do you ever listen to Blurry Creatures podcast? Do you know what
I
that is?
do. Well, I
Okay.
do listen to Blurry Creatures. They have a great podcast.
Yeah.
There's a few podcasts I listen to, and I don't listen to podcasts as much as I used to, but I do kind of go in kind of spells on it, and so sometimes
Same.
uh,
I'm the
I'll
same
I'll
way.
listen to it for a while, and then it's like, okay, I got to give it a couple month break, and then I'll hop back on
Dude,
to it.
yeah, it's crazy that like because I'll do that. I'll be listening to something like either Risky Krisky's old podcast. I'll like go back and listen to that, or I'll be like I'll start listening to like Dave Canterbury. And I know that that's not a podcast, but like I just go through phases of different things. Sometimes I'll be listening to Steven Crowder, which is sort of mainline Republicanism. And then
Yeah.
I'll end up listening to like Ethan Suplee's like it's more of like a weight loss type podcast thing, dude. I've got so many irons in the fire. You just got to kind of go pick one up every once in a while.
Well, so let's redirect the conversation here. Let's get into like preparedness, survival training, stuff like that. So, what was the one thing that kind of like got you into like all that? So, like, was there one particular event, or were you just kind of raised into that?
Originally, my grandpa, I just grew up shooting guns and hanging out with my grandpa on the weekends. And my grandpa was a boy at like the tail end of the Great Depression.
Hmm.
So he was always saying things that were preparedness minded without being a prepper, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
he'd like give me some sort of gun and be like, "Hey, squirrel this away for hard times, get good with it," that type of thing. And then we'd be out there running around and shooting squirrels and stuff in the woods and take them home, and grandma'd cook them up for us. So I had that kind of childhood initial kind of instilling of that. And through high school, I didn't pay much attention to any of that. But as I got older, and honestly, when it came around to like Barack Obama coming into office, and I'm like, man, and this has nothing to do with skin color. It has everything to do with just ideology and
Well,
salesmanship. When I saw like the praise music, did you ever see the? It was almost like a choir singing a song about Obama. Do you remember seeing something like that?
yeah, there was a very cult-like mentality behind Obama, and let's just call it out for what it is. He was a straight up communist, and he was pushing communist ideology. But I will give him, he was a smooth talker. So I mean, he could like sell communism to the masses,
Oh
essentially.
yeah, yeah. But I saw that, and it was just like a gut feeling.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like God leads me in things in my life. I became a Christian in about seventh grade, and it was almost like God gave me the eyes to see that like things are starting to take a bad turn, and I'm becoming an adult. So it's time to get your crap together. And so I would say in my this would be around 2007, 2008. I got really really hard into prepping and guns and stuff like that, and then like all people, I kind of slacked off. And there was I guess I'd started my YouTube channel like 2014 or something, and it kind of keeps me motivated. But there for a while, there was like 3 years where I wasn't making content, and it was a bad period. I got really out of shape and stuff. So this is like kind of a rebirth of my channel in the past year or so, and so I've just kind of continued with that mindset. I never quit being a prepper, but I just wasn't taking care of myself, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
physically. And so that's kind of what's come back around, is just trying to get more healthy, trying to get back into doing the bushcraft thing, learn some more like patrolling and shoot, move, communicate stuff, and try to network and build a community of people around me that know more than me that can teach me. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I will say for me, I kind of grew up in it. My dad had a very biblical revelations type of theology, and so he was kind of like, we have to prepare for the end times type of thing, and so like
right,
that's kind of how I grew up, and so like even as a kid, I remember you know getting into guns and stockpiling food and stuff like that. And then, of course, kind of got out of it a little bit when I was more towards like high school, college era
right,
and stuff. And then, kind of like you with Obama, I kind of started cracking back into it. And then I joined the military and just, I kind of, when I was in the military, I kind of got a sense of direction of where things was going. It's like, okay,
right,
if the military is becoming degenerate, society is becoming even more degenerate. And like, Rome collapsed 100 years before it collapsed just because their legionnaires became crap, and
right.
so when I'm starting to see the military switch from, hey, we want able-bodied warrior men, to we want 400-pound female toaster strudels that sexually identifies as a female toaster strudel.
Yeah, skittle-headed freaks that are offended
Then
by everything.
and then these same people are frothing at the mouth and wants World War III on all fronts. Then
Right,
it's kind of like, okay, maybe as soon as I get out of this, I need to like double down on a lot of things.
right.
And so
Yeah,
my prepping too has kind of switched from, because used to it was like, okay, stockpile guns, ammo, food and gear. Well, I've realized that that's not really sustainable on like a long term basis, because even if like things went to crap right now, I could have 2 years worth of food, but you're still on a 2-year timeline at that point.
yeah.
And
What are you gonna
so,
do after 2 years? What are you gonna do on that like 700 and somethingth day? I
yeah.
mean, you've got to learn to grow food eventually.
Well, and something that kind of made me think about this was the reason why the American Revolution was successful was because the American colonists, for the most part, was not reliant on the Empire of Great Britain. And the
Right.
reason why a revolution or whatever couldn't happen right now is because most people are still reliant on the government and
Oh
system
yeah.
in a lot of ways. And so, and I'm not even saying that I'm like perfect. Still work two jobs and have a bank account and all that good stuff.
Right.
Um, but the homestead kind of farmer uh, direction is kind of where I started looking at, okay, I need livestock, I need a garden, I need, to build like a community and stuff, because if something
Right.
crazy did happen, then I'm not looking at trying to be some lone wolf prepper out in the woods or something. I want a small miniature thriving kingdom,
Right.
essentially.
That's what it's going to take. I mean, even from a biblical perspective, the tribes were not islands unto themselves. You know what I mean? But they were, even just as a single tribe, that was an entire community.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have that same thought process about like. I mean, and I guess, and here's the thing, because you and I are just having our first like real conversation here. Um, you invited me on your show, and I'm like, man, this guy's from Missouri. I'm excited. Maybe we don't actually link up in real life, but maybe we know people that are closer that bridge that gap. Maybe that's part of what, you know what I mean. That's kind of why I like
Yeah.
to try to especially network with people in Missouri, and just the guys I've met on YouTube, dude. I've met dudes closer to me for through guys that were states away. You know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
networking with other like-minded dudes on YouTube.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: I'm not gonna say exactly, but I know you're in like
But
Southwest Missouri. My twin
yeah,
brother lives down there. I have a twin brother that lives in Southwest Missouri. So
dude, that's crazy. That would be weird for me to have saw him at a gas station or something and be like, "Hey, what's up, dude?"
yeah, I mean, he lives in the Springfield area. We'll just say that. You know, it's big enough.
Okay, the that cluster of there's a lot there. You know, you're
Yeah.
not gonna.
Well, what's crazy is I grew up down there, and there was small towns down there that were like less than 5,000 people, small towns, and you go to them today, and you don't even know that when you left Springfield and into the small town, and it's a 30, 40,000 person town, and that was just like 15 years ago.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. There, especially those the outer skirts towns like off 60
Yeah.
Highway 60. Oh yeah, that you just blend from Springfield into smaller towns, and then you end up in rural small towns, and it all just kind of yeah. You got to go left or right to hit the farm field, you know. But it's just
Hmm.
like you're in the countryside before you know it.
Yeah.
But
So, another topic I was kind of wanting to get into, and this is something that I've been seeing this for a while, and I know you brought it up on a recent video of basically like a guy that more or less trying to say, well, you shouldn't even try basically if you don't have this certain physique. But I've been seeing it a while with like gear. There was like a little spell, and I even did a video on it calling out the BS, where there was guys saying like, oh well, if you don't have this $10,000 rifle and this $10,000 set of night vision goggles, blah blah blah, that you might as well just give up and surrender. You shouldn't even try it. And and
it's
I
lame.
I personally think that some of that is actually kind of a psyop. And let's kind of define what a psyop is, because a lot of people thinks that like a psyop is like some government operation under the table that they're like purposely pushing, and there is some of that. I think at a certain point it comes down to that, but I think a lot of it today now too is people that's unintentionally pushing a psyop just to kind of be part of like the fanboy club or the clique or whatever. And so
Right.
they are pushing the psyop even though they don't even recognize that they're doing it. And
Yeah, I think
so
that that's probably most of psyops.
yeah,
Really.
yeah, it's just like a lot of people that they buy into the bull crap essentially. And so, what's kind of your thoughts on that? Like, people pushing gear elitism and stuff like that.
Dude, I think that those people, a lot of them think that they're like keeping the community pure. Oh, you know, if you don't even have a cry precision and a BCM, you know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
it's crazy, and I think a lot of it is consumerism. Americans are so caught up on just having the newest, hottest toy. And I'm not saying go buy the cheapest thing in the world, but if that's all you've got, that's still better than nothing, and you should become as proficient with it as you can.
Well,
You
I will
know,
say this: I would rather have a guy with his granddad's SKS, 6 months of food, and a farm and a homestead than some guy decked out in Cry precision gear, a Daniel defense rifle, and a set of NVGs, and lives in a suburban apartment.
that probably doesn't even know how to like stay warm in winter conditions without having a fire.
Yeah,
Like those guys have no skills at all. Like not I don't that's saying too far. I'm just saying that a lot of those guys, that's the only skill they got. Well, I'm a shooter. Well, everybody needs to be a shooter. What else can you do? That's what I mean by that.
yeah. So where was I gonna go with this? Um, I totally lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh,
But yeah, there is a lot of gatekeeping from like fanboys of like even just certain influencers. And I'm not even against influencers, but when certain influencers start trying to like discourage people, like, let's just say it, talking trash about, oh, if you're fat, don't even buy any gear and try to go train. You can lose weight while training. You can multitask. You can go put on a backpack, start with 20 pounds, and I know that that's not a whole lot, but at least you're not sitting on your ass.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
really
there's a
about
lot
not
of
sitting on
people
that
that get
ass.
motivated by deciding like, hey, I need to get prepared, or hey, I need to get tactically squared away or something, and that's what leads them to their weight loss journey. And what's
Yeah,
funny too is I'm pretty lean, and I have people on my channel all the time that's like blah blah blah, you wouldn't even do any, or you can't do anything anyways, you're too skinny. It's like, dude,
that's
I've done it before. Like, what are you talking about?
right. But but that happens even with age. Like I saw this, and I'm gonna leave names out, but there was a stream I recently saw where a dude's talking about, well, if a guy's over 30, man, he's just get off the battlefield, grandpa. And it's like, man, you think that only guys in their 20s are going to be the ones that are suitable for the battlefield? Look at every combat zone in the world. There's always somebody over 30 out there. 30 is not over the hill,
No,
but like,
well, not anymore. And it kind of also depends on who's the 30-year-old, or who's the
right,
40-year-old. There was so I served in the Marines up until I was 30, and that when I was a NCO, I was a corporal. One of my rules was is we'd go on like runs or whatever, and I'd be like, okay, 18-year-old, if I beat you or if I outrun you, it's going to be your fucking ass, basically. Like,
right,
but more often than not, I would actually, outperform some of these kids that were 10, 12 years younger than I was. So,
right. Motivation has a lot to do with that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, diet, exercise, and everything. And kind of going back to the fat thing too. One of the things that people don't realize is, and I'm not using this as like the victim excuse card either, but our system has weaponized even our food and our every aspect of our society as far as our health to
right,
intentionally attack us and make us fat and slow and weak and stupid and blah blah blah, to make us more servile and not able to withstand or resist in any way, shape, and
right.
form. And so,
I mean, a
uh,
lot of the chemicals in our food, and it's especially stuff that's bad for you, hit the same dopamine receptors as heroin.
yeah.
So people get addicted to this garbage, myself included. I've weaned myself off of a lot of stuff in the last like 2 or 3 years, but like I'm still terrible about diet pop, and so that's like the next thing on the list to get rid of, just because it's garbage. That crap is
Yeah,
nothing but poison in a can.
soda is, if I could pick like a few things, it's soda and seed oils is the bane of American
Right,
diet. Because a lot of those seed oils, like soybean oil or the vegetable oil or the
rapeseed
canola oil,
oil.
which they try to tell you is healthy for you, but it's not. Some of
Yeah,
those are inflammatories, and so then people don't realize that they eat that and then they get inflamed, and so it actually causes them to gain weight and get fatter and
well,
stuff.
and even have heart attacks because I mean it'll inflame your vascular system too.
Yeah,
Like that's responsible for a lot of heart attacks.
yep. There was a study, I think it was back in like the 40s. They were trying to figure out how to fatten up pigs, and they started giving pigs coconut oil, and the pigs actually gained muscle and lost weight. But then they were like, "Oh crap! Okay, give them canola oil," and they got fat and gained a
Right.
lot of weight. And so oh, so when I go to the store, and I will say too, home cooking a lot of meals does help a lot, because
Yeah.
then you can really pick what you're actually putting in things. But um, when I go to a store and I'm looking, I'm one of the type of people that I look at the ingredients, and if I see like there's like a handful of things that's like, okay, red 40, no, canola oil, no, soybean oil, hell no. Like
Right.
there's things that I like weed out and I just won't buy it,
And
you know.
that's pretty cool. I probably need to do that because I'm a label checker now because like okay, I don't know if you watched that whole video that I did about like the whole if you're fat don't even try type thing. But
Yeah, I
like
remember that one.
I was I was huge in a couple of the photos I had put on that. So I'm like, I say 150 pounds. It could be more. It could be a little bit less because this. Let's be honest, the scale didn't work when I first started stepping on it. I was too heavy for the scale.
Mhm.
So like I'm somewhere 150 pounds down from where I was at, and I just did it like caloric deficit, and that's the only thing I've paid attention to is calories. And now I'm starting to like pay attention to, let's say, macros like protein rather than just calories alone. And I should probably get into looking at like the seed oil stuff
Yes.
and eliminating some of that garbage because
Well,
I'm
some
sure
of
that
that
has a lot to do
stuff
with it.
gets in your system and it takes like 7 years for it to even flush out of your system. And unless if you just go through like a sauna and just, deliberately try to detox and
Yeah, go have a Native American hot tent and some peyote and try to try to fast flush all that garbage out.
yeah. Uh, but like
I'm
at my
kidding about
house,
the
we
peyote,
only use butter, olive oil, and coconut oil for cooking everything.
right?
And of course,
That is what we have at the house now is regular real butter and all like it's the spray olive oil, but it is olive oil. So,
yeah.
but I guess we're doing better. Like all my numbers and stuff are good. Like cholesterol wise, I don't even have high cholesterol. The doctors were like 2 or 3 years ago, we're harping on me, being like, "Hey, we're gonna have to put you on cholesterol medicine." But in my mind, I was like, "Man, that's just the fast way to destroy my brain and give me Alzheimer's." So
Yeah.
it is.
Well, I don't go to the doctor for a reason. Not very often.
Same.
Like unless if I have just something specific bothering me, I
Right.
don't.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because uh, all they want to do is just hand you some pill and you know make you
Right.
sicker, basically, long term.
Pretty
But
much. It can help in an acute thing. It can help if you need surgery. But like going to the doctor, and I have family members are like this, where it's almost like, are you going there for recreational purposes? Like,
yeah, I
like just there so often, it's like your favorite place to be.
well, like I even got it. Was kind of talking to one of my friends about it because he's like taking his kid to the doctor all the time, and he's like, "Oh well, now our kid needs this medicine, this med," and I'm
Uh,
like, "Why are you taking your kid's not sick? Why are you taking him to the doctor?" Well, it's just, oh, schedule pediatrician, and it's like they're just trying to keep
no.
you on to pay, and then they want to just keep you paying. They don't care about you.
Yeah. Well, like even the vaccination stuff, like we refused vaccinations for my kid for like the first 3 years. And we only did like the basic things that have a track record of being safe
Yeah.
after that because I was like, I am not going to pull this baby out because they were it was like upwards of 7 vaccinations they wanted to give her before she left the hospital. I was like, no, we're not
Yeah,
doing
that's
that.
that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's just a business, and it's almost criminal to do that to somebody.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And the thing that they don't really talk about with like vaccines too is they give basically everybody the same dose, the same stuff, but how does that affect them? And when you start looking at the inserts and ingredients and it's all like aluminum and basically stuff that's all toxic chemicals,
Right.
then you know,
Aluminum in your deodorant too. That's another thing I need to pay attention to.
yeah. So what are some things that you're looking, or what kind of like training stuff are you wanting to try to get into in the future? And what kind of future preparedness things are you wanting to try to get into?
At the moment, just the money hasn't been there for, like, actually hitting a training school. I would actually like to go to tactical response at some point, but it's just gonna take more coin, you know,
Yeah,
coming in the house. But, like, beyond that, I do a little bit of training with a buddy who's been to the sandbox a few times. We don't get to meet, a whole lot because he works over the road, but I've been doing that and trying to just network with dudes that know more than me on that as far as just the shoot, move, communicate stuff. But I mean, the rest of it, like the bushcraft and just prepping type stuff, I'm just kind of self taught on all of that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, um, some of my future preps that I'm trying to work on is I'm trying to get to a point to where I have like my house paid off essentially,
right.
because I I feel like one of the things that they're attacking us with is just like kind of that slow burn and just economically trying to deprive us. And
Sure.
I was kind of telling my wife this even today. If we could get the house finished paid off, I could work at McDonald's and still get by if we had
Right.
to. If we didn't have any outstanding bills, then because that's what lingers over most people is just like a mortgage, a rent,
Yeah.
this payment, that payment. And so I've been trying to like, and I'm bad about it because I sometimes get like a chunk of money and it's like new rifle, new knife, or something. You
Me
know what I
too.
mean?
Me too.
And like I'm bad about it, but like I'm catching myself like, no, I need to just pay this off and pay this off and pay this off. So
Right.
then I can just like work and not owe anybody really any money other than just like electric I'm on well water. So it's just like if I get like a couple things paid off, then I'd be pretty set,
Yeah.
you know.
Heck
And
yeah, the well water though, man. You're not on that fluoride. That's good stuff.
yeah. Yeah, we also have a house filter too, so we have a RO filter set up for the house. So like anything we cook with and drink, we filter it. Now the only issue with RO water is that it does like deplete a lot of the minerals, so you have to kind of re-mineral. I can't even say it, but add more mineral.
Mineralize.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my speech impediments, I guess, like kicking in or something. But you do have to add like minerals to your water and stuff to kind of replenish.
Right.
So like I because you kind of deal with electrolyte deficiencies and stuff, with RO
Right.
waters.
Oh, for sure. Dude, but like you mentioned having the house paid off. I don't ever really think about that as a prep, but like I'm glad to say that we did accomplish that. I mean, like my mother passed away a few years ago, and I ended up getting her place, but I can't keep up with two places, so I ended up trading because I was buying the house I'm like living in now from another family member. So I traded my mother's property for a full payoff on the house I'm in, but it was right as COVID was hitting. And I was just like, I want the house paid off. I don't know what's happening financially. I want the house paid off. And it's like you said, I could work at McDonald's if I have to,
Yeah,
as long as the house is paid off. And so that's one of those things I don't think about a whole lot. But you're right. Having your actual property paid off is huge.
yeah. Well, having a place that is actually yours and not a note on it, it has a lot of um it's pretty significant. So I own the land that I'm on. I'm just making a payment on the actual house. So I mean, I kind of have a place, but kind of don't at the same time.
If things went belly up tomorrow, you could probably prevent people from driving a tractor trailer in there and hauling anything off if you needed to.
And yeah, I do agree with Kara T. Missouri needs to get rid of property taxes.
For sure.
Sadly, we had one governor candidate that actually wanted to do that, and all the boomers decided they wanted stereotypical do nothing other boomer, and so I don't think that'll happen, sadly. But
Like boomers have screwed up so much crap though. Like I mean, like we were talking about just the sort of bootlickers and the comms and stuff earlier, but like and this isn't all hunters. I hunt myself. I've been hunting more as an adult, like the past 5 years. So I guess I would consider myself still a learner. But like, I'll be looking on the Missouri Conservation page, and there are all kinds of boomer bootlickers trying to get people rolled up for like $10,000 tickets for poaching. And granted, I'm not saying go poach a bunch of deer, but like a single deer getting shot isn't worth $10,000 either. Or
No,
getting
it's not. I seen a meme and I thought it was funny. It was like I have two. I'm gonna butcher it, but it was something along the lines of like I have 2 rounds and I'm surrounded by a traitor and a direct enemy, but I'm gonna put both rounds into my grandchild. That's the typical boomer or something like that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I think that, and I don't wish anybody gone, but man, the boomers' power needs to go away for sure.
Well, it's just like, good lord, set sail in the sunset and retire.
Right,
Like, actually
like
retire and enjoy the
Pelosi,
rest of your life.
go be miserable in private.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't wish her dead. I just wish her successfully miserable somewhere else. Go be unsuccessful somewhere else, Nancy.
Yeah. Uh, so as far as the other preps that I'm kind of working on too, I'm trying to get. Well, I guess it's not necessarily a prep, but I'm trying to get like a some of our land set up to where I can host an event, and I want to like make it like a tactical bushcraft event. And so
Dude,
like
that's rad.
a couple days of like, here's some bushcraft stuff and here's some tactical stuff. We'll practice like patrols, bounding, set up a night watch and stuff. But then like
Yeah.
throughout the day, maybe practice some like knife skills and build a shelter and stuff like
Dude,
that. And
yeah.
I
That's
I
awesome.
really want to try to set something up along those lines. But every time I start trying to like, it's been a process to set that up. Trying to
Right.
work with a whole bunch of people is not exactly easy for anything.
Right, and getting schedules lined up and all that stuff is pretty rough. Me and I don't know if you're familiar with the YouTube channel Wired Tight, but
I feel like I've heard of him, but I'm not sure.
he's one of my friends. He's a cool dude. Me and him are gonna go do a hunt that's like 4 days in November, and we're gonna shoot a lot of content. We're gonna do some bushcraft stuff. We're gonna try to get him his first deer and just kind of like meet up and hang out and just kind of build that brotherhood a little bit more, and hopefully that can become a more often thing with just dudes on YouTube that are at least in a reasonable driving distance, where guys can just kind of network, and because we're gonna have to, the patriot community is gonna have to come together, and I mean not the Patriot Act patriots, but real patriots that think that things are fixing to go to shit and we don't need to be kissing the government's ass.
The
You know?
the potential survivors of the collapse of Babylon. How about we say
Yeah, exactly. The soldiers of Babylon need of the collapse of Babylon need to come together.
or the remnants of the legionnaires that was standing on Hadrian's wall or something.
Yeah, American Legionnaires. I don't know. That'd be a good name for that. But like, dudes need to organize. The left is great at organizing. The right is terrible at it.
Well, you know why that is. Like I thought about this, and it's a psychological difference, and that is most people on the so-called right, and I don't even really care or identify as either one, but most people on the so-called right have more of a carnivorous type of mentality, and you actually look at a lot of right people, wing people actually eat steak and meat and blah 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 and all that. And but you look at animals in nature, like wolves, they'll fight amongst each other and everything like that. You know what doesn't fight amongst each other? Sheep. when you
Right.
have a bunch of herbivore, soy eating liberal
Collectivists.
type, they have a herd mentality, and that's why they're so great at organizing, is because they actually have a sheep herd type of mentality.
That's that is inarguable. That's 1,000% accurate. But in the overall, if the and the right is a terrible uh term to use, because I consider myself just more an independent libertarian type, because I think the Libertarian Party sucks too. So
Yeah,
but my values would lean more towards what would be considered right leaning,
I
but
would
I
be.
know
I
most of
mean,
them.
I'm definitely right wing, but I'm rebuild Christendom type of
Right.
thing. So, oh, yeah, that's kind of where I lean these days. But how much time do we got here? Okay,
We
we got like 5 minutes left.
5 minutes, yeah.
Um, oh crap! I had something just on the tip of my thought here, and I'm just trying to think of what it was. Um, hmm, I'm totally lost.
Totally lost. Either way, dude, I think that the networking idea, I think that dudes like us need to network, as far as, but obviously be careful. Everybody's a Fed till they're not a Fed, kind of.
Yeah,
To some
basically,
extent. You know,
basically. I remember what it was I was gonna say is people will say the right and conservatives and blah blah blah, and it's like, what have they conserved?
nothing, not gun rights, not low taxes, not morality, not a damn thing.
No, well, yeah, I mean, I remember even 20 years ago, they were hardcore adamantly against gay marriage, and now the champions of the right is like guys like Dave Rubin. Yeah, you
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like, they haven't
I get what you're
conserved.
saying for sure.
They haven't conserved anything at all, and
Like
so
for I'm not in support of homosexuality. I just feel like it's, if they want to do their thing, they're adults, whatever. I'm not going to say that it's right or moral, but I'm pretty libertarian on that. But you're right. I don't think that those guys should be our leadership or our speakers either. But I don't hate anybody like that either. I'm pretty well live and let live, but there are going to have to be some boundaries drawn up.
well, I think that's the problem as in a lot of ways is we just haven't had any boundaries, and it's all just been one of the ways that I've kind of described the Libertarian Party is they're the do what thou wilt Aleister Crowley party, basically. You know,
Right. Well, and they're as decadent as anybody is. If you're talking about the party, and dude, some of them, and I know that this is a little bit simplistic, but some of them, it was just like almost like right wingers that want to smoke weed. You know?
right wingers that want to smoke weed or liberals that likes guns.
Yeah, yeah, and they came together, and
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah, for the most part. I got my goats running around over here. Sorry if there's any background noise, but
dude, I could barely hear anything as far as
okay.
on that end.
I I I hear it because I'm in a metal barn, and so it's just like things are just ruffling around over there, and they're
Right,
probably fighting over who gets to sleep where type of thing. But
that's cool that you got goats though. Like, do you ever do like making like soap and stuff like that? And
we've never made soap, not yet. We have plans for that, but we have done milk, we have done cheese and stuff. And our goats are the Nigerian dwarf goats, so they're little goats. But the reason why we went with Nigerian dwarfs is because they eat significantly less than like some of your bigger goats, but they actually produce about 2/3 of the same amount of milk as some of your bigger goats, and so Peterbilt knife guy hopped in. Hey there, Peterbilt. You kind of missed out on a lot of the wild conspiracy talking and stuff. We kind of went all over the place and down the rabbit hole a little bit, but
Yeah. One of my buddies jumped in there too, Tactical Muffin Top. If you don't know him, like or seen his channel, he's a pretty cool dude too. Peterbilt knife guy though, I feel like I've seen his stuff before.
uh, he has a pretty big channel. I think he's upwards of like 75K subscribers these days.
Is he the guy always cutting like the toilet paper roll?
Yes,
Dude,
it's like
yeah,
music, and
sweet.
it's just like, and it's kind of weirdly therapeutic in a
Yeah,
way of just.
I'm I'm jealous of his knife sharpening skills because my stuff is never that good.
It takes a while to kind of get to that skill, and sometimes there's a level of sharpness that it's nice to have a knife that sharp. But
Yeah,
oh, he's at 86K. Okay, so I underrated what he was. But yeah,
86K. Boy,
there's
that's
almost,
lightning.
for practical use, there's almost too sharp at a certain point too. It's, but
Right,
well, depending on what you're going to use it though. I mean, if you're just going to use it for cardboard cutting and looking cool on video, then and it's awesome. But if you want to like beat the shit out of it and the woods, then you don't necessarily want it that
right.
sharp.
All of my like my philosophy on knives because like if I want something razor sharp, I have a few for that. I really like Moras, like the Mora companions and the 510s and the Pro S's and stuff like that. So I've got a few of those for like really sharp and kind of smaller bushcraft tasks. But like my taste in knives is like sharpened crowbars. Like I like kukris. I like Ontario SP10. All that big gigantic crap is my favorite stuff.
Well, Peterbilt says it's literally the dumbest thing he's done to get views. At least you didn't slash your arm open with a Puzon Wilderness movie. I mean, that's still my most watched video. So,
Oh
uh,
gosh.
yeah,
Big old
he's
nut.
big into big old knives too. But well, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. We're right over an hour, and I like to try to keep these at right at about an hour or so. So,
Right on, man.
folks, be sure to check out Chris on Missouri Survival. Go check out his channel. And as always, thank you guys for hopping on and checking out the live stream. I definitely would like to hop on a live stream again sometime in the future. Maybe we can kind of deep dive into specific topics or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd
But
be cool.
yeah,
I'd love to do another stream. We could do it on your channel or do it on mine. We can jump back and forth, but we could go down some crazy rabbit holes.
maybe we should do like a, I don't know, pre-election or post-election kind of live stream,
That
just to
would be legit.
kind of make sure you buy up all the toilet paper at the store, I guess. But
Like one last question. What do you think Republicans are overconfident about the orange man getting reelected? I think that.
um, I think so, and I'm not entirely sure how the whole thing's gonna play. Like, because basically we got the baby boomer billionaire pedophile, or we got the whore of Babylon. Like, pick your poison. And
Oh
so
gosh.
I know this: whoever wins, Israel wins, and the bankers win. So,
Dude, that's so true though. Like it's gonna come down to little tiny hats.
yep,
I know
yeah.
that sounds terrible, but
That's who's gonna win, one way or the other. But
right.
Chris, it was awesome to have you on. And folks, stop by next time. I'll let you guys know when we do another live stream. All right, you all have a good night.
Take it easy, man.
Yep.